And one of the people he shouted out was a good friend of ours, and this is somebody I check in on just on the norm, on the regular, just because of what he brought into the culture as a DJ. He was one of the most celebrated, is one of the most celebrated DJs to ever come out of hip hop.
Absolutely.
In his battle days, one of the most ferocious hands on turntables.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
As a producer, one of the most successful producers to come out of hip hop, DJ Jazzy Jeff is on the line with us right now. Give him a big round of applause.
And let's not forget his wife, Lynette, my sister, my girl, fries one of the best turkeys ever to be fried during the holidays. Bon,
Absolutely. And before you even talk, Jeff, I want to open up the phone lines, 888-742-3345. But it was this conversation I saw with you and Will Smith, who's also a citizen of Sway in the Morning, and we had him on the show recently. But this conversation right here, and I want you guys, citizens, to listen to this call. Adam, here it is.
Came home from my trip, like I feel like I'm coming down with something, and got in the bed, don't remember the next 10 days.
Wow.
I had a temperature that reached about 103. I had the chills. I lost sense of smell. I lost sense of taste.
Wow.
They gave me a flu test.
They couldn't even give you a test.
No. And when I went and got the chest x-ray, she came in and she said, you have pneumonia in both your lungs.
Yeah, that was scary because, Lynette doesn't panic, and she called me with the panic vibes. So I just immediately called D Nice to see if he would be available. I was like, not my DJ.
Hey, I ain't ready yet. Unfortunately, people think that we're at the end, and I think we are really at the beginning.
Man, that's Jazzy Jeff and Will Smith. You gotta love Will. He found a way to make you laugh as you was talking about one of your most dire moments.
Yeah, that's trust me. Leave it to him for that one.
Jeff, it's so good to hear your voice. Last time I think we communicated, you were in Japan, I feel like, or you was somewhere in the world. Oh, matter of fact, I hit you to tell you Will is coming on the show, and I was going to surprise Will and get you to call in, but you were already in Japan. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And so you a person who travel a lot. We've seen each other all over the world, just in random places. You were diagnosed with COVID-19. Before you were diagnosed, what were you feeling? Did you think something was wrong?
Well, this is the crazy thing. I felt like I was coming down with the flu. Like, I did my last show. I came home. This was right before they started to lock everything down. And I basically was telling my wife, we need to go to the store and stock up. And this isn't my panic. It's more so, you know how it is that, when people know a snowstorm is coming, they go and buy up all of the toilet paper and Lysol, which I have no idea why they do that. But I just wanted to beat everybody to the store. And while we were in the store, I looked at her and I said, you know what, babe, I feel like I'm coming down with something. I'm a little bit achy. And came home and got in the bed. And literally, everything was foggy for the next 10 days. I know I didn't eat. I know I would doze off to sleep and felt like I slept 10 hours and was only asleep 6 minutes. I lost my sense of smell, lost my sense of taste. She would bring me soup or sandwiches, and it would just sit there, and I'm hungry, but I have no desire to eat. I couldn't pick the sandwich up to eat. I would go to the bathroom and be out of breath. And I remember one time I dozed off to sleep, and when I woke up, she was staring at me with this weird look, and I was just kind of like, why are you staring at me? And she said, I know how you breathe. I know how you snore. I know how you sleep, and that's not it. She was like, we got to go right now. And literally got up and put my clothes on and couldn't really necessarily go to the hospital, but I went to a doctor's office that they made you fill out all of the paperwork in the car on the phone. Like you couldn't come in and had to fill everything out. And then a doctor with a hazmat suit came to the door and basically signals you to come in, and you walk in. And I was the only one in the office and went in, and they gave me a flu test, and then came back and was like, we need to give you a chest x-ray because, we don't like the way you sound. and then came back and said, listen, you got pneumonia in both your lungs. This is really dangerous. You need to go home and just sit. We're going to give you antibiotics to fight off the infection. But that's what I was diagnosed with. It wasn't until later that we got an inquiry for an interview for the last show that I did in Ketchum, Idaho, that the guy hit Lynette and was just kind of like, hey, there's a bunch of people at the hotel that came down with COVID-19. Half of the people in the club that Jeff played came down with COVID-19. There was a Black Skier Summit. There was a bunch of people that came down with COVID-19, and a few of them passed away. I'm just trying to find out, is Jeff okay? He had no idea I was sick. So us putting two and two together, and especially her looking up, realizing that one of the main symptoms of COVID is pneumonia, loss of taste, and loss of smell.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of like, I kind of freaked out because I came home from that trip, and the first person I went to go see was my 92-year-old mom. Because I didn't, you don't know that you have anything, But, yeah, like, I vaguely remember anything from those 10 days.
Wow. And so you,
oh, my gosh,
it's, I can't even imagine what it feels like to not have taste or smell. What does that feel like?
Well, what else was crazy? I didn't realize, pneumonia is fluid in your lungs. And I started hallucinating and not realizing I'm having wild dreams and not realizing, because when you don't get enough oxygen to your brain, you start to hallucinate. And that's how people die in pneumonia. They actually drown in their own fluid. So me not being able to breathe was me sleeping 5 minutes thinking that it was 8 hours and having these goofy dreams and not knowing what's going on, and not being able to eat. I'm hungry. I'm starving. My stomach is growling, and you say that you want something, and then when they put it in front of you, I couldn't reach out and grab the sandwich to bite it. Like, A, because you're weak, B, probably because I was hallucinating, thinking I was somewhere else. But it was just one of those things that severity might have lasted about four days before I started coming out, and then I ate a bowl of soup, and then I ate another bowl of soup, and then I had a sandwich, and then everything kind of comes. And then it's crazy because my wife, she had a mild cough and lost her sense of taste and smell for 2 days, and that's all she had.
Man, it's interesting because we were talking about Chris Cuomo. Was speaking with Governor Cuomo yesterday, and his wife taking care of him has now been diagnosed with COVID-19 as well. And the governor here of New York was saying, it's almost inevitable if someone in the same household with you and they're taking care of you, that they're going to catch it too. But the symptoms may be different. The outcome may be different. So your wife, Lynette, she had a different outcome than you did. What did you start doing once you started feeling better? Did you get up and start moving? Because Chris Cuomo also said you got to start moving. The virus wants you to sit down. It wants you to lay out. What did you start doing? Jazzy Jeff is on the line with us.
Well, I did. I kind of started walking a little bit through the house. You don't really have your oxygen back. But, I get to the point that I'm going to walk to this room, and then I'm going to go back, and then I'll get up in the bedroom, and instead of laying in the bed, I'll go sit in a chair and watch TV. You want to kind of start moving back. But I'm still getting my oxygen back. Even after all of it is over and done with, I have to, I'm walking to try to, get my wind back because you lost so much of it. But you gotta get up. You gotta keep moving. It's really, really important for you to lay as much as you can on your stomach. People don't realize that their lungs are more so on the back than in the front, and you laying on your back sometimes is putting more of a strain on your breathing. So making sure that, I had a pillow and I would lay on my stomach to open up your breathing passages a little bit more. But you gotta keep moving. This is like the worst flu that you ever had in your life. And I think the reason why I'm so much of an advocate now of people doing what they're supposed to do is because I don't ever want anybody to feel what I felt. Like, I don't wish that on my worst enemy, you know. So just trying to express to people, you know, it's weird because it's kind of like with the virus being invisible, it's nothing really tangible for people to fear. So people are kind of like thinking, oh, well, you know, I'm not going to get it. It's kind of like the same thing with a cold or a flu. You think because your friend's got a cold, you're not going to catch it, or I can't catch it. And this is one of those things that this is a lot more contagious than the average flu, and it's taking people out.
Wow, Jazzy Jeff is with us. You know, Heather Mike Muse revealed to us. He actually, if you go to I Am Mike Muse, he did an article about it. It was centered around men and black men in particular needing to be open enough to ask for help. But in this case, I'm going to that is absolutely true. But we got different kind of folks that listen to this show. Mike Muse revealed to us that he was diagnosed with COVID, and none of us ever knew. But he came on air and revealed it to us, and he did so because he felt like he needed to in order to write this article to let people know that, hey, I'm not just saying this, you know, I'm not just researching this. I've been through it, and I commended him for that. Because I know a few other folks that have been diagnosed, but a lot of people don't want to talk about it. They don't want the information to be known. Rightfully so. That's their prerogative. That's their right. Jeff, I appreciate you doing it, though, because I know there's a lot of people who are tuned in to us right now that probably think they might have it, haven't went and got diagnosed, or may have it, but keeping it more clandestine because they don't want people to know, or maybe they think it might stigmatize them, but don't know how to work through it. Do you mind taking questions for people who might have it? Okay, so listen, if you've been diagnosed with COVID-19 and you got questions of what can I expect, if you got the strength to talk about it, how can I work through it? You want to share experiences, 888-742-3345. We got Jazzy Jeff on the line. He could talk about it with you. Sway in the Morning, Shade 45. Let's go. Well, Jazzy Jeff is on the line, and he tested positive for COVID-19, and for his 10 days of his life, he doesn't even remember.
That's crazy.
You say you lost your sense of taste, your sense of smell, and you really didn't know what the outcome would be. You felt you were in dire straits, but after how many days did it take before you start feeling better?
Maybe about four bad days, and it started to go in the opposite direction. Okay. Like, you still felt bad, but I didn't feel as bad as yesterday. So it was really, you know, it might have been a good maybe 8 days of really, really bad before you started to kind of feel like I'm heading in the opposite direction.
You started doing the Do-Over Party live stream a couple of weeks ago, correct?
Mm-hmm.
How is this affecting you now moving forward as a DJ? Like, will you go back into the clubs, you know, when this passes, or are you cautious now? Have you even been outside your house since?
I've been out. I've been for a ride. I have not had any contact. Like, I haven't gotten out of my car to go into any store. I'm driving just to kind of look with the windows up. It's definitely going to be very different for me, but I think it's definitely going to be different for the world. I think people need to understand that there's about to be a new norm, because when all of this is over, I don't know how many pounds I'm giving out to people. You know, I'm going to have Lysol wipes in my bag because I'm not getting on equipment before I wipe it down thoroughly because of the person before you. You know, I don't think you should grab a microphone until you wipe it down and sterilize it. You know, so as much as we all may kind of get together, it's still going to be a level of social distancing that I think is about to be the new norm.
Sway, real quick, can I ask, Jeff, do you, I know your wife cooks when we were talking about Lynette coming on, but do you think that prior to this, that normally your immune system was fairly healthy, and that your body was able to just naturally recover. Because as you mentioned, while the music was playing, we lost some people, and it seemed like mysteriously, like John Witherspoon, Jeanette Dubois, who played Lona from Good Times, whose family was saying that out of nowhere they just passed away, and it seemed to be pneumonia related or flu related. Do you think naturally you, up until this point, you didn't have any pre-existing conditions and your body just kind of healed on its own from your diet?
Well, I'm not going to necessarily say, my diet, but I think, I definitely think, listen, being on the road, from every tour that I've gone on, I come home and have lost weight instead of gained weight because we walk so much. So it's, I'm getting a different kind of exercise. I'm pretty much playing 2 hours a night, and I'm pretty much dancing in place for 2 hours.
Right.
I don't drink anything but orange juice and pineapple juice when I play, and the vitamin C kind of helps, because that helps you from getting sick. The one thing that you never want to do is get sick when you're on the road. So I think all of that stuff compounded. When I got sick, I was probably able to fight it a little bit better.
Okay. Wow.
We got people on the line with questions. Let's start with Dorian in New Jersey. Dorian, good morning.
Jersey,
how are you,
stand
Dorian?
up.
Hey, Dorian.
Yeah, hey guys, how you doing, man? Yeah, that's from Newark. Shout out to Heather B. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good,
How you doing? To Sway and Jazzy Jeff and everybody else. How y'all doing?
Doing great, bro.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I had a question because all right. So just for myself, so I know at one point, I did travel actually to the U.S. Virgin Islands, St. Croix. I have a family out that way. So when I got back, not right away, it's for myself. It might have been a few weeks later. But I had questions in regards to so I kind of felt like some kind of like I had the flu or something like that. Maybe it was the flu. Maybe it could have been COVID. Now currently I am feeling better. I know for myself I medicated by using Mucinex and a few other things like Robitussin. Was there anything that you took specifically to help yourself feel better, or how did that work for you?
Well, the funny thing for me is I didn't have a runny nose. I didn't have a cough. I didn't have any of the typical flu symptoms for me to take. I couldn't take a NyQuil because I'm kind of I don't have any of the symptoms that you need to take NyQuil. My biggest thing was my temperature shot through the roof. I couldn't taste my food. I couldn't smell my food, and it was very hard to breathe. So, there's not really medicine other than asthma medicine that you can take to kind of help you breathe, and especially me knowing about pneumonia and knowing that that's basically fluid in your lungs, is really one of those things that I wanted to let this, it sucks because I didn't have a medicine that you could take to give you the temporary relief to get through, the whole thing. You just had to, ride it out.
Right.
All right. And that's his experience. So you got to consider that everybody's experience is different, Dorian. Do you feel like have you been diagnosed?
No, I haven't. Actually, I'm at the point now where, I do definitely feel better and stuff like that, which is actually a good thing. Otherwise, I've continued to medicate and stuff like that. I've just isolated myself in quarantine up to this point. So, if I were to continue to have, let's say any symptoms or something like that, I know we definitely have the test going on now in Jersey. And they're actually doing swab tests now too. So, that's something I would definitely consider. But, thank God that I actually do feel better now at this point. So I'm confident that it was the flu, but, for the most part, I can't really do is stay quarantined and see how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, man. Well, keep us posted, man. Thanks for your call, bro. You're a citizen.
In the morning.
All right. Let's see. Let's go to Gotcha in West Virginia. Good morning, Gotcha.
Good morning, Ray. Good morning, how to be and everybody else.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for taking my call. I work in the emergency department, so I'm on the front line day in and day out. They have us traveling to different locations. And we are exposed to these people that do test positive for the COVID-19, which is scary. But thanks to that, a lot of the people that I work with and myself, we take the necessary precautions to, wash our hands, use hand sanitizer, the social distancing thing. One thing is You know,
What?
the emergency department, I've worked in it for years. People used to come in, you know, I have a rash. It's been here for 5 years. Tonight is the night. I want you to solve it. It's an emergency. I would like to commend the people because they are staying home. And the people that we are seeing are people that actually are ill. So that, you know, changing the normal, you know, changing the norm. So I'm hoping that this kind of sticks with us. So, you know, the emergency department is for emergencies. But on top of that, you know, it's important to get tested. And I think, you know, Jazzy Jeff using your platform to speak out and tell people that, yeah, you tested positive for it. It's not anything, you know, to be ashamed of. You want to take the necessary precautions to, you know, protect yourself and others. If you feel like you have symptoms, you know, either go get tested or self-quarantine. Do these steps that we, you know, are helping. But I just want to, you know, appreciate you speaking out, and not just hiding it, because it's real for everybody, male, female.
Yeah.
It's scary, but
Yeah.
No, listen, I appreciate you for being on the front line, helping all of these people. Like, people aren't understanding that, you know, the medical workers and the people who are actually treating a lot of these patients are extremely heroes, you know, to everybody. Because I don't think people think when they say everybody's quarantined and everybody's locked down, that doesn't mean your police department or your fire department or your medical workers. Like, you know, they work tirelessly through all of this. So you definitely got to give a shout out to them.
yeah,
Thank you
so much. I know.
Thank you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, there's a lot of nurses and doctors that, you know, they don't get to go home to their family. Their family is with other people because they are being exposed to it daily.
Yeah.
So, you know, that part of it sucks, but they are definitely, standing up to the plate and definitely deserve a round of applause, pat on the back.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yes. Thanks for your call, Jeff. Absolutely. Tracy, you got a question for Jeff?
I'm wondering, how do you communicate with your family to kind of calm them down in a sense? Because, of course, when you're the one enduring it, and like you said, you have a lot going on in your head at the moment that makes you scared, but also from the outside, family members can feel like, wow, I have no power, no control, there's nothing that I can do. And so sometimes I can imagine that's a struggle with keeping yourself calm, but then keeping your loved ones calm as well.
Well, it was important. You know, we have 10-year-old twins, so it was really, really important. There was a period that they could not come in the room. And once I felt a little bit better, it was important for me to just let my kids know that daddy's sick, but daddy's going to be okay. Like, you know, the one thing that we did not want to do is we didn't want to lie to kids because, of course, you know, 10-year-old kids have friends who tell the brutally honest truth. So we wanted to not lie to them, but also not freak them out like this was the end of the world. Like, this is something that's going on. You know, everybody is going through this, and we're going to get through it. But it's you know, of course, when you're the one laying there sick, you know, sometimes you go through moments by yourself of, you know, frustration that this is you. No one else can tell you how you feel. No one else can take this away from you, and you get angry. And, you know, but you have to kind of fight through those moments because it is really, really important to look more on the positive side. And I know it's really, really hard when people are sick, but I just kept, you know, once I got my brain intact, I just kept saying or thinking about the day that this was going to be over. This is going to be over. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to play with my kids. I'm going to go play some music. You know, you had to kind of self-motivate yourself, you know, until you got out of it.
Facts.
Jeff, man, thank you, man. Shit, when I saw that clip, man, I wanted to get to you immediately. Let me take two more questions, if you don't mind. We got Boogie in North Carolina. Go for it.
Hey, Boogie.
Boogie, are you there?
Oh, you talking to me?
Yeah. Is your name Boogie, or what's your name?
No, my name is William. William, not Boogie. William.
Oh, William. Okay, my man.
Like, who the hell is Boogie?
Where you got Boogie, bro? Hey, long time listener, man. I appreciate all y'all. I wanted to ask I wanted to ask because I went through the same situation back in February, and it took me about 2 weeks to get over it, and about another week or two because I was so weak afterwards. But back in early March, I got called in to the medicals because I'm retired military, so I went to a VA hospital. And they called me in asking me about, because I guess they were trying to figure out if I had it, which obviously I did. And then they wanted to take some plasma antibodies, I guess, to help out other people with it. I was wondering, Jazzy, if they did the same for you or asked you for the same.
No, I think because mine was a little bit early, and especially, when they first diagnosed me, they diagnosed me with pneumonia. That they didn't, I didn't get to the point that they asked for any kind of antibodies. I've been hearing a lot of people because they're trying to figure out if those antibodies, will help people who don't have it, that's all a part of that unknown. You don't know if it's going to help people, you don't know if it's going to stop people from getting it, but no, I haven't gotten to the point that someone called me in for that.
Yeah, because they said the same for me. They told me they had pneumonia, but I was like, I've been plant-based for 4 years. When I got sick, I was scared because I haven't got sick in forever. So I thought I was ready to die. Yeah.
Hey, William, thanks for sharing that, man. AKA Boogie. Have a good day, bro.
Thank you all.
All right. He said, "Ooh, me, dog." Is it Rocky?
Yeah, it's Rocky calling from VA.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, I just like the last caller, I'm a prior military vet. Went to the VA. They diagnosed me with the flu. Had a week later went back and diagnosed me with COVID. But I understand what Jazz is going through. I'm going on 3 weeks of this. Feeling better now.
That's good.
And it's something that it's a feeling that your body. It took my cousin because he had COVID also. We both caught it together to tell me to get up, go outside because you got to get some vitamin C in your system to, try to kill it because you can't keep laying on your back. But all they prescribed for me was Tylenol and Mucinex.
Yeah.
So that's been working. I'm going on my trying to make these 96 hours of no fevers for the last 3 weeks. So, it's a struggle, but, you just got to move around. And I was on Super Insure for 2 weeks. So, I mean, I don't wish this on nobody.
Yeah, this is a rough one.
Hey, man, thank you for sharing that story with us. And then you're a citizen, Rocky, and so is William. I didn't give him his citizenship. Jeff, are you up to DJing like at home yet, or are you going to be doing anything?
Man, listen, I did the do-over 2 weeks ago, and I started the Magnificent House Party, which is every Saturday at 3 p.m., which is, 12 o'clock on the West Coast, 8 o'clock in London. And I really did it. I really did the do-over because I still wasn't completely well. But I felt it was important for me to do the do-over to really stress to people to stay in the house. So it's really, my whole thing is, I need to provide some kind of a house party for people. Shout out to Heather who came through last week. But it's kind of like I'm just trying to make people dance in their kitchen because I want them to dance in their kitchen or in their living room. They just need to be in the house. Someone sent me, a photo of a basketball court in Philly, and it was at least 100 people out there. And it almost brought tears to my eyes because I think a lot of the I know you get the stories that not a lot of young people come down with this. Not a lot of young people have symptoms, but they're carriers, and they carry it home to their aunts or their grandmothers or their moms or their dads who are a little bit elderly, and some of them may have respiratory issues. So I'm just kind of like, just because you're okay don't mean that you can't take this back and affect someone in your house. So I'm like, whatever I can do, please stay in the house. So Saturdays at 3 o'clock, I'm trying to get you to two-step with me in your kitchen.
There it is, Jazzy Jeff. We glad you still with us, brother. And
Yes.
everybody's results aren't the same. Heather just told you her husband's coworker passed from it. You know, and that illusion that young people aren't being affected by it, that's been proven wrong already. It's been teenagers,
yes, absolutely,
you know, that have lost their lives and over because of this COVID. Not everybody's healthy as they think they are. So let's kind of dismiss that myth. Jazzy Jeff, thank you, man. I love you, brother. I appreciate
you, man. Love you too, Heather. Listen, I appreciate y'all, and just tell these people to stay in the house, man, because I want this to be over. And the only way we're gonna get through this is if everybody get on the same page. My biggest fear is that people jump the gun and everybody come out thinking all of this is over, and they end up having to close this down, and we end up going into 2021 like this. So I'm like, I just want everybody to be all right.
Okay, thank you, man. Jazzy Jeff, man, I appreciate you, man. And thanks for sharing this story.